Okay, today I'll be explaining how I beat FMC. So what that means is I'm gonna walk through my 52 FMC single at FMC 2024. This was done on the third attempt, but the twist is I did it without a cube, without the scramble image, and without any working at all. So what that means is basically look at this scramble sequence and then write down a solution on the solution sheet. So yeah, I'm gonna be going through my approach throughout each step of the solve. Hopefully you guys can take away like a thing or two. So yeah, the solve itself isn't special at all. It's just like standard linear CFOP. So yeah, this is what the cube looks like at the start of the solve. At the time, I had no idea what it looked like, because basically what I did was I tore off this like scramble image from like the scramble sheet, and I just like put it face down on like the corner of my desk. And so yeah, all I was left with was this scramble sequence and this like empty solution sheet, and I had to fill it up in an hour, which is quite a challenge, can't deny. But having done no cube FMC before, I already had like some experience or some insight into how I was gonna approach this attempt. And also like disclaimer, like I only did this after I had DNF my second attempt, because there was no point in me like going for a good solve anymore. So yeah, I guess I could say I solved better without a cube than with actually trying a cube. So trying with a cube. So anyway, as I said, the solve itself is just standard CFOP, and I decided to just do like white top, green front to avoid having to do like F2L from like a weird like non-WCA orientation. So yeah, it actually helped me simplify a lot of things. And the main difference between doing no cube FMC with the scramble image and without it is that you just need to figure out where the starting position of the pieces are after you've done the scramble. That is one approach, which I kind of did, but I actually like break it down into a few smaller steps. So what I mean by that is I was just concerned about a few pieces at a time, and then after I've solved those pieces, I'll then move on to the next set of pieces, and basically it's just tracing through the entire scramble and the moves that I had already applied to the cube lah. So anyway, since I was doing like CFOP and in this orientation, the first thing I decided to do was to track the yellow cross pieces. So, and for the first set of pieces, I basically just traced through the scramble, and I realized that they were gonna be here, 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 and here. So I could do like L2 F prime R prime to insert these two, and D prime R prime B2 D2, and now I have this cross solved. And at this point, since I already know I have a cross, I don't have to care about where these pieces will end up, since I am solving the F2Ls like pair by pair. And after I do each pair, if I wrote them down correctly, like these pieces should be unaffected at all. So I guess what that implies is that the attempt actually gets easier and easier, because you have less pieces to track, and also the pieces are only like they're only possible to be in less and less spaces. So yeah, after I solved the cross, I decided to track one F2L pair. So I didn't track all four at once. I was just concerned in tracking one and finding the pieces of the corner and the edge. Finding the position of the corner and the edge. So I decided to track this pair, which happened to be over here. And luckily for me, this happened to be one of the better pairs, which I inserted like this. So U prime and R2, sexy move R2. So now I have this solved. And then the next pair I tracked, I think, was blue-red, but it wasn't in a very nice position. So I decided to track something else instead. I checked this one, green and orange, which I quickly did in 6 moves, right? So now this is solved. And since I previously already checked the red blue, I now just followed, they were originally here, I just followed it through the moves that I just did, and I traced it to end up over here, which I can solve like this. And then after that I was left with this F12 pair, and at this point I knew that I already had 3 F12 pairs solved. So what that implies is that only the top layer is not solved, and like this back left slot is not solved. I only had 10 pieces, at most 10 pieces left on the cube that are unsolved. So I decided to do a sanity check at this stage, just to make sure that all the unsolved pieces will actually end up in like these possible positions. So which indeed it did, and I kind of got lucky over here, cause like the edges were like this one is solved, these two are technically solved, but they're like just in like the wrong orientation. So having and well, this one is also like oriented, so having this knowledge, I knew I was gonna get an L case over here. So I quickly just inserted the pair normally, and then now I was just concerned about solving OLL. So I knew I had an L here, and then I was just basically tracking the orientation of the corners. So it ended up having these headlights here and these two facing away from each other. So it's basically this L case, which I quickly did. And now basically I have all of the pieces oriented. I just need to care about the permutation of each piece after I went through the scramble and the moves that I already applied. So after tracing, I knew that I had headlights at the back, and I knew that I had a block here. So initially I thought it was a GA perm, which as you can see I tried to write down a GA perm, but because I was doing no cube FMC, I couldn't like confidently write it down. So it's quite funny, but like it's so ingrained in my muscle memory that I literally forgot how to write a G perm in like the standard cube notation. So anyway, I decided to just solve the corners first, and then after that the edges. So I knew that I had headlights at the back, and since it matched like the F12 color, I knew that the AUF was gonna be U prime. So I just did an A perm and U prime. And when I went back to check like the permutation of all these edges, cause my corners were solved already, I was just not sure about the edges. I happened to trace them to be solved, which indeed is true lah, but I'm not sure why I initially traced, so in one case, I'm not sure why I initially traced this to be a GA perm. So after writing this A perm down, I was a bit confused, so I cancelled it out and wrote it down again, and at this point I only had like 1 minute left, 1 to 2 minutes left. So I was not confident at all that this was going to solve. So I just quickly like did one more check in my head that, you know, like these pieces will, like the edges will end up in the solved position, which I managed to trace them to be solved, but I wasn't sure cause I initially traced like the G perm. So having written this down, I wasn't sure that it was going to solve at all. So when I went to submit it, and when I finally could like see what the cube looked like at the start, it happened to solve. So yeah, I guess the takeaway is that it's not I don't think it's really all that like complicated, you know. It's just slicing the pie, breaking down each step into just solving a few pieces at a time. And since CFOP is like, especially for F2L, after you solve those pieces, doing another F2L pair shouldn't affect the position of your solved pieces already. So it just makes your solve easier and easier as the attempt goes through. So yeah, honestly, I think this is quite a fun challenge. If you want to try it for yourself, go ahead. So I believe I'm the first person to do this officially. I'm not too sure, but it was definitely an experience, and having a success uh that it's not even like too bad. Like 52 for a linear CFOP is honestly quite respectable, I think. So yeah, go and try this for yourselves if you want. It's quite a fun challenge, and yeah, hopefully you guys learned a thing or two from this explanation. And yeah, that is basically how I beat FMC.